In a world where carbs are your enemy, you need one man to help you fight your battles. That man is Jimmy.
Combating nutrition disinformation and general bull. It's Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com.
You believe the success of your ketogenic diet depends solely on how much weight loss it produces? Let's define success in another way. Eating low carb, moderate protein, high fat puts your body into a state of ketosis, bringing about healing from the inside out. The major benefits of going keto using real food include lowered blood sugar, decreased insulin, minimized inflammation, increased energy, the removal of hunger and cravings, falling triglyceride levels, raised HDL good cholesterol, and spontaneous periods of intermittent fasting. When all of this happens, the result has this happy side effect known as weight loss. Keto is not about temporary fleeting weight loss, it's about permanent life-sustaining health gains.
Simplified short-form keto videos found exclusively at ketowhiteboard.info. Watch it, share it, live it.
What up, you guys? Welcome to another Instagram Live.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another Instagram Live, and we're here with another episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. We have perhaps the most unique show on the internet because we start off over on Instagram. So if you're not following me there, go follow me on Instagram. I'm at Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVIN LOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, you can engage live in the content, just like all these people are doing right now. Thank you guys for being here. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay for up to 24 hours. After 24 hours, it does disappear. So go follow me then on YouTube. You can see all the past episodes of this here show. Type in a keyword Jimmy Rants, either on YouTube or Google. You will find the show. Finally, we have a Jimmy Rants podcast, which has the best of the best moments of this here show in podcast form on Apple Podcast as well as Stitcher, the most unique show on the internet because Instagram, YouTube, podcast. Nobody else is doing that. It's pretty cool. JimmyRants.com is the website. Today's Jimmy Rants was inspired by a comment that I got on my YouTube channel from a previous Jimmy Rants episode. It's by this guy who calls himself Keto Cycler. So if that's you and you're watching this on YouTube, thank you, Keto Cycler. This was a really insightful comment. I get some ugly comments on there, and it's all good. But this one was a really interesting one. I don't agree with it, but it was a very interesting, thought-provoking one that I agree with some things about it, and there's other things that I totally do not agree with. But the overriding message of it was that keto is not sustainable. So that's what I want to talk about here today. When keto is not sustainable is put out as the excuse for not doing keto, I just want to tell people like Keto Cycler, want to bet? So let's see what Keto Cycler had to say. You guys ready? I think people make the mistake of believing the newest information and following the newest trends. Well, that's true. Anytime something becomes popular in the culture, everybody and their mama wants to do it. So that's not new. I mean, everybody always follows the latest trends. Otherwise, why would anybody have ever done the cabbage soup diet? I mean, really, seriously. But yeah, anything that's popular in the media does tend to be tried, and people do believe all of the newest information and following the newest trends. Next line. Diets only work if they are sustainable, and keto is simply not for most. Says who? I hear this quite often, that people say, well, keto is all well and good in the short term, but there's no way you could possibly sustain that over the long term. And that always baffles me as someone who has personally eaten low carb for 15 years, keto pretty hot and heavy for 7, I'm always amazed by the assumption that you can't possibly stay on that diet. Because to me, the most sustainable diet is the one you'll stick with. And I don't know about you guys, but if I can have bacon and full-fat meats and cheeses and butter and vegetables, non-starchy vegetables, and all of the things that you get to have on a ketogenic diet, isn't the pleasurability on the taste buds going to make it sustainable? Isn't the nutrient density that comes from eating whole foods what makes it sustainable? It's just fascinating to me that they make these claims. And again, if you're just joining us, I got a nice little comment on my YouTube video from this guy named Keto Cycler that was basically challenging that keto is just, it's just the latest trend. Everybody wants to hop on the latest trend. And at the end of the day, diets only work if they're sustainable, and keto is simply not for most people. And I'm making the case that keto is probably the most sustainable diet, because I think back through all of those diets that I've ever been on. All of them. Literally all of them. And the hallmark of every single diet was hunger. The hallmark of every single diet was I missed certain foods. I was craving certain foods. I never felt satisfied with the foods I was eating. It was miserable. And yes, I would lose weight. Yes, I would shed some pounds. But nobody wanted to be around me because I was not a very nice Jimmy Moore. Christine will be the first to tell you, when I did a low-fat diet, basically a no-fat diet in 1999, lost a lot of weight, but I was a grouch. You didn't want to be around me. I was not a happy camper. But keto changed the game. Keto said, okay, I see what the problem is with the sustainability piece. You want something that you feel like you could do for the rest of your life. How many people go on a diet today that's not keto, and they start eating it, and within like a couple weeks go, this is something I will do for the rest of my life? No! Most people that go on a diet, myself included, in my past, we would go on a diet so that we could hurriedly lose weight and get back to the way I used to eat. That's what we all did time after time after time. And why did that not work? It didn't work because it wasn't sustainable. And so all those low-fat diets I always did, they didn't work. Even though I lost weight in the short term, they didn't work long term because they didn't fulfill that need for hunger control, satiety, craving control, delicious foods. I always felt like I was eating cardboard. I mean, fat-free cheese, really? Whoever thought of fat-free cheese? Ugh, what was that about? So, again, if you're just joining us, I got a nice little YouTube comment from this guy, Keto Cycler, and he makes the case in this comment that diets only work if they're sustainable, and keto is simply not for most people. He didn't elaborate too much further on what that means. He does have a lot of other good stuff here that I'll talk about here in a minute, but I wanted to really hammer this one up front because I don't understand why keto can't be sustainable. I argue that keto is the most sustainable of any diet I've ever tried. Now, obviously, that's anecdotal. I don't have any randomized controlled trials that would prove that. But I think in my own experience and a lot of the experience of you guys that follow Jimmy Rants, you too have found that when all other diets have failed, when you've been on the rabbit diet, so to speak, where you're just starving all the time, finally you got to go to keto. And why was keto so effective for you? It was effective because you weren't hungry anymore. Why weren't you hungry anymore? You were eating satiating foods that had healthy fats and proteins. You normalized your blood sugar and insulin levels. You controlled your hormones very naturally. You lowered your inflammation. To me, that is all the definition of sustainability. So, Keto Cycler, bless your heart, but keto is the most sustainable. Now, he is a keto dieter. He calls himself keto cycler. But I think he's referring to the ways that a lot of people do keto, and we're going to get into that now. So let's continue with his comments. That doesn't mean some people can't do it for life. It just means most can't. I don't understand why most people couldn't do keto for life. What would be the prohibitive factor that would stand in the way of someone doing keto for life? When you do it with mostly real whole foods that nourish your body, give you all the nutrients that you need, that make you feel good, that taste good, you get the satiety, and it enables you to go long periods of time between meals, so you get the benefits of the intermittent fasting. Why can't most people do it for life, keto cycler? I don't understand that. I just don't understand that. And don't say Jimmy Moore's an anomaly, that I happen can do it for life. I promise you, most people that start on keto could stay on keto for the rest of their lives. It isn't to say that low-carb diets can't be tools for health once in a while. Exactly. It just means that humans are intermittent eaters. Humans are intermittent eaters. He didn't really define that, but I'm assuming what he means is that we should only be eating occasionally. But guess what happens when you eat keto? You intermittent eat. You have 1 to 2 meals a day, and that's all you need. Why is this hard? I'll continue. Intermittent eating is the actual ancestral diet. I agree, dude. See, the thing is, he's articulating all of these points that says don't do keto, and in the articulation of his don't do keto, he's saying do keto. That's why I wanted to address it here on Jimmy Rants. You eat what is available. Okay, fair enough. Eating carbs does not make you fat. Oh. Okay. Eating carbs does not make you fat. Without a qualifier on that one, it's very difficult to make a comment about this. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and assume you meant eating whole food carbs won't make you fat, because I can eat Twinkies, Ding Dongs, and Coca-Cola, and those are all carbs. And I promise you, that's how I got fat. That's how I got to 410 pounds in my life at one point. So yes, eating carbs does not make you fat. Apparently, you've never dealt with insulin resistance. Apparently, you've never dealt with obesity yourself. If you're a cycler, I can only infer that from your name, Keto Cycler. You probably have been somewhat of an athletic body, and you've never dealt with obesity before. So please do not step up on your high horse and tell us that eating carbs does not make you fat, because a lot of people here on Jimmy Rants would beg to differ. Beg to differ. The Japanese are perfect examples of high-carb dieters who are lean. Well, good for them. And I think from their part of the world, they've never had to deal with crappy garbage type of diets and crappy garbage types of foods that are just readily available. That's changing, by the way. A lot of the Asian population is starting to gain weight because they've brought in westernized food products, and they're gaining weight. So even that traditional high-carb diet that's made up of rice and other types of carbohydrates, they're starting to play and wreak havoc on these bodies. A lot of Asian cultures are developing type 2 diabetes at an astronomical rate. And it's not by accident, guys. So for you to say that the Japanese are a perfect example of high-carb dieters who are lean, that's changing, dude. You got to really pay attention to what's going on. That's a nice little dogmatic kind of approach to this, but pay attention to what's happening. They've allowed westernized crappy garbage foods to come in, and now they're getting fatter and sicker and more diabetic and more heart disease and all these things happening. snacking makes you fat. Well, I agree with that. It's one reason when I go keto, and when you go keto, and most people go keto, there is no need for snack foods. It's one reason why I'm not a big fan of the so-called keto snack foods that are out there, other than when you're traveling. If you're traveling, eat you some peely nuts and some F-bombs and some all of the good stuff that's out there that you can eat. But if you're doing a well-formulated, low-carb, moderate protein, high-fat ketogenic diet, snacking is not necessary. And so I totally agree with you. I have yet to see a person who snacks all day long and eats reduced-sized meals to ever be considered healthy in the normal sense of the word. Well, again, if you eat keto, you're not snacking all day. You're having 1 to 2 meals a day. Pretty much, that's it. The leanest people I see are those who eat much less frequently and never snack. Well, guess what? That's the keto people. So why are you dissing on keto cycler? Seriously. Or they're really active but do eat more frequently. Well, if you're really active, you should eat more frequently and or have more calories when you do eat and go through periods of intermittent fasting. Either strategy works. The people who tout low carb as the end-all way to live often lose weight, then regain it, then lose it, then regain it. I wouldn't say everybody that eats low carb does that. Let me tell you a little story. The reason people turn to low carb and the reason people turn to keto is because every freaking diet before this has been an utter and dismal failure. And here's the thing nobody, including Keto Cycler, ever acknowledges about people who come to low carb keto. We come to it because we've been frustrated after years, even decades, of low-fat diets. And that doesn't come without consequences to our metabolism. So get off your friggin' high horse, dude, and acknowledge that the people who choose to eat low-carb and keto have tried all the so-called right ways to be eating, that we have more damage than you do. Just because we have more damage does not mean you need to mock and scorn because some of us lose weight, regain it, lose it, regain it. Get off your friggin' high horse, dude. Because at the end of the day, that's not very nice, number one. But number two, you're failing to realize that there's so many factors involved. And that's all I have to say. You will eat what is around even if you try to cut out every forbidden macro. Well, that's why you don't keep crappy food around. I don't in my house. I have a goddaughter who comes over and she's like, I know you don't have anything I can eat because all you have is that health crap. And so that's right, all I have is health crap. Try being an alcoholic and then not drink when you are surrounded by alcohol everywhere you go. Well, I'm not surrounded by the proverbial alcohol, in this case with carbs. And quite frankly, I'm not even, there's a grocery store right over there. I could walk in there and walk right past the bakery, right past all of the crappy garbage that's in there. None of it appeals to me anymore. Did I used to have an addiction to carbohydrates? You bet I did. Does it bother me now? Not in the least. Not at all. So your analogy with alcohol is not the same. Carbs can be a similar problem for people in spite of their best efforts. Well, that gets better over time. I haven't had a, quote, craving for carbohydrate in 15 years. I just don't. I don't crave bread and pastries and donuts and cakes and all this nonsense that people eat. I just don't. I tell people if low carb isn't working for you, try something else that doesn't restrict how many carbs you eat, but rather how often you eat them. So the problem with that statement is, I tell people if low carb isn't working for you, most people, that translation, weight loss. So you may not be losing weight on a low carb ketogenic diet, but that does not mean you're not getting benefits from it. I am going to scream this message loud and proud until everybody gets it. Weight loss is not the only parameter by which you determine whether low-carb keto is helping you or not. If it's your litmus test for whether low-carb keto is, quote, working, let it go. I think there are a lot more interesting things at play that you should be checking. Blood sugar, HSCRP, inflammation levels, fasting insulin, blood sugar levels. I could go on and on. Triglycerides, HDL cholesterol, small dense LDL. So many things that I would put long before I would put the weight benefits, the weight loss benefits. And yes, it does, but let's heal the body. Let's see those signs of healing taking place. And when those signs of healing start to take place, then fat loss should come. But fat loss is not the only determinant whether something is successful or not in your diet. Try something else that doesn't restrict how many carbs you eat. Have you guys tried a higher carb diet? How'd that work for you? What did those carbs do for you? And please, Keto Cycler, pray tell me what benefits that are essential in the human diet you get from eating more carbohydrate. It's one thing to say, try something else that doesn't restrict how many carbs you eat. What do you get from carbs that you can't get from fat and protein? Anything? Okay, fiber. Yes, you can get some fiber, but you can get that from the minimal amount of carbs that you have on a ketogenic diet. So what else? Vitamins and minerals? You get all the same vitamins and minerals eating animal-based foods. So that's not an excuse. What else? Anything? Oh, that's right. There is nothing else. And so if there is nothing else, why would you make this asinine comment, try something else that doesn't restrict how many carbs you eat? Because how many carbs you eat is critical for people who are metabolically broken. If you have an inability to digest and use and handle carbohydrate, it stands to reason to keep them minimized. Why is this so hard to understand? I don't get it. But rather how often you eat them. Okay, so let's say I have 60 grams of carbs in a meal, and then I don't eat again until like 14 hours after that. And I have another 60 grams of carbs. So are you, Keto Cycler, trying to tell me that 120 grams of carbs is not going to be harmful because I only ate them twice in a day? I'm just not understanding the logic here of the timing of the carbs. And then this statement here really set me off. In the neo-keto community, so he's trying to use the terminology from the political world, the whole neocon, and they make fun of conservatives that have kind of popped up in the past few years, the neoconservatism. So he's calling us neo-keto. In the neo-keto community, I still see the same eating patterns that caused them to get fat. They simply change the type of food, but still graze all day on keto foods, including fat bombs, cauliflower crackers, bacon, etc. This behavior needs to change, not the macronutrients. I agree, Keto Cycler. I think fat bombs are stupid. Why are you eating fat bombs? Eat food and you won't need the fat bombs. Cauliflower cracker. I'm not a fan of snacking, and I've made this very clear that if you have to snack on keto, you ain't doing it right. If you keep the carbs low to your tolerance level, protein moderated to your personal threshold, and eat fat to satiety, and have ample amounts of real whole food-based foods that give you ample amount of calories, then you don't need to snack. If you have to snack, you're not doing it right. Now, obviously, when you're traveling in certain circumstances in life, they are helpful, but they should not be the main source of your nutrition on your ketogenic diet. And yes, he didn't mention this either, but the bulletproof coffee, same thing. If you enjoy that, don't get me wrong, please don't send me hate mail, but I think at the end of the day, those things kind of take you away from the natural circadian rhythm, so to speak, of how you eat. I eat so intuitively now that it ends up being about 1 to 2 meals a day. And those meals come at different times, and they provide the sustenance that I need, so that in between the meals, I don't feel the need to snack. It's not necessary to. So I do agree, Keto Cycler, that if you're grazing all day on keto foods, that's no bueno. And I agree. I think at the end of the day, getting people to eat less frequently, which I saw was one of your overriding comments, I think that's a great thing. But let's not throw out the baby with the bathwater. This does not make people who embrace a ketogenic lifestyle any less right than you are. You found what works for you, and they found what works for them. And why does it have to be this competition? And why do you have to diss keto saying it's not sustainable? Want to bet? Want to bet? All right, let's see what you guys have to say. Welcome in, welcome in. Thank you for being here on Jimmy Rants. Always love being with you guys. Bonnie Lene says, I think that's because they want bread, pasta, fruit, etc. for different dinners, from what I hear people that say to me. Yeah, could be. Lau Misha, in my opinion, there isn't a diet out there that's sustainable, but keto is a lifestyle, a way of eating. Most of the ones I've tried have not been good. Million Pound Mission, what's up, buddy? Hashtag hell yes. Fat-free cheese is the devil, he says. It is the devil. Rat Dog Finney, 2.5 years keto and then carnivore, easiest thing ever. Even helped me quit alcohol. Yeah, because that craving pathway slowed down. That's awesome. Kudos to you. Perry says, keto is the only truly sustainable way of eating I've ever found in almost 45 years of living. Other diets all left me hungry and frustrated, totally unsustainable, totally calm on keto. Yeah, I don't get the sustainability thing. Because what makes you stick with something? You get pleasure from it. What makes you stick with something? You get benefit from it. Keto provides that for so many people. Yeah, there's a little bit of like adjustment period when you first start, but once you're on keto and you're getting full keto adaptation benefits, there is nothing more sustainable when it comes to a nutritional health approach. Brittany Keto Glow says, 1 year keto, baby. No other diet has gotten me this far before. There are ways that it could be unsustainable, but in the most part, it's completely sustainable. Yeah, and we talked about some of that in his criticisms towards the end there of the people that graze and eat fat bombs and do all this kind of nonsensical stuff that really isn't natural. If you let keto be more intuitive and eat not by the clock, but by your hunger, satiety signals, I think a lot more people would do well on it. Gina says, I'm a keto lifer going on 4 years. Oh, but Gina, it's not sustainable. You can't keep that up. That's what Keto Cycler says. Live and listen healthy. I feel those type of comments generate from those that didn't break their garbage addiction. I think deep down inside, Liz, you're probably right. They still want to have their carbs. And I always wonder, okay, don't worry about counting how many carbs you eat, but how often you eat them. What carbs do they eat? What are the, quote, healthy carbs? Sweet potatoes? Fruit? Is that what they're eating? And to me, the slippery slope of even sweet potatoes and fruit is, what if it turns back on all those cravings for Doritos, Little Debbie snack cakes, Coca-Cola, and all the other sugar addiction that you finally broke with keto? There's no acknowledgement of that in here. And yet those foods could turn back on that same pathway that got you in trouble to begin with. So to me, sticking with keto, long-term, doing it in a healthy way, is the sustainability piece that he's talking about. I love your rants, Jimmy. You're so funny. Thank you, Bonnie. Why is this hard, says Perry. Yes, why is this hard? I don't understand it. Darla says, you're cracking me up. I try. Brittany says, eating garbage will always make you fat for or at least have a whole host of I can't talk today. Health problems. Yes, and even the inability to speak. Apparently, this will be used against me in a court of law. See, I saw in video, Jimmy stumbles over his words. It's got to be the keto diet doing that. Brittany says, yes, no snacking. See, that's the thing. I get so many companies try to pitch me products. Oh, we have a keto snack food. I'm like, why? Why? That doesn't make any sense. You don't need to snack. If you need to snack, you're not doing keto right. Again, circumstantially, I think those snacks can be helpful. I just got back on a plane trip that was 8 hours long yesterday. I fasted for most of it, but when I needed a little something, I had some peely nuts. And when I needed a little something, I had some of the macadamia nut butter F-bombs. Those were available to me to have as a snack if I needed it along that long plane ride that I didn't have access to food. But other than that, there's a few other little circumstances that maybe you're traveling in your car or whatever. But other than that, eat your meals and let that be your sustainability of it. Don't feel like you got to snack. So Grandma does keto. It's not just about the weight. I would confuse my metabolism by cycling in and out of carbs. That's silly and sounds dangerous. I think it's a slippery slope, Grandma. I think if you allow those carbs back into your diet again, you're just asking for it. Back to his alcoholic analogy that he gave. You give an alcoholic just a little bit of alcohol, what do they want? A lot more alcohol. So why, pray tell, doesn't he get it when it comes to the carb piece? Try being an alcoholic, then not drink when you're surrounded by alcohol everywhere you go. That's what he said. Carbs can be a similar problem for people in spite of their best efforts. So he's telling people, don't eat keto and be so restrictive about the carbs. But if you're not restrictive about the carbs, you're going to be craving it just like an alcohol. He's all over the place. Keto cycler, God bless you, brother. But you don't make any sense here today. Perry says the hubster is also an avid cycler. He says keto keeps him fully energized with energy to burn for the long haul. He just doesn't run out. And this is the thing too. Endurance athletes, keto is optimal. Because when you're a sugar burner, you only have about 2,000 calories worth of energy in your glycogen stores before you have to refuel with more sugar, more carbohydrate, okay? But if you are a fat burner, that same endurance athlete has not just 2,000 calories worth of energy on their body, but 100,000 plus calories on their body. That's why athletes can do so well, endurance athletes can do so well using a ketogenic fat adaptation approach without having to use a whole bunch of carbs. I crave chicken wings and big fat juicy steaks, says Anita. Me and you both, girl. Brittany says, I don't crave carbs now either. However, meat, gotta have the meat. Remember, I'm an ex-vegan. Yes, meat all day long. Whether you snack or not while doing keto is different, says BP, with everyone because no two of us are alike. Keto snacks were vital when I first started. Pickles, olives, pumpkin seeds, cheese sticks, nuts, and jerky. When you first start, I think that's a different beast. You're not keto adapted yet. But I'm talking about those people that are well keto adapted. You've been doing this a while. You find that snacking becomes less and less and less until it's completely eliminated, and pretty much you're falling into 1 to 2 meals a day for most people. Brittany says, I ate a high-carb, low-fat vegan diet for 2 years, didn't lose a pound, felt sluggish, my hormones were all out of whack. I felt like crap until I switched to keto, high-fat, and low-carb. Yeah. Alberto said, this dude saw one video of you and assumed many things without studying more about your story. Also seems that he thinks keto is a diet instead of a body state. Yeah. And again, keto cycler, we're not meaning to beat up on you here today, but you did say some pretty stupid stuff in there. Val says, I grazed when I was on other diets, but now on keto, I just don't need to. Exactly, Val. That's the thing. When I was eating low fat, I just always wanted to eat. And I would gravitate to naturally fat-free marshmallows when I wanted a little something. I was literally having to graze all the time. I was so hungry, like all the time. Christine's like, please, just shut up. Because I would moan and groan about how hungry I was. And, buck up, sissy pants, Grandma does keto, well-formulated keto, keeps us so sated it's hard to be hungry all the time. Exactly. That's where longer fasting comes in, and it's marvelous. And the longer fasting only happens because keto calms down everything in the body that enables that to happen. Carol, hey Carol, I think they confuse sustainability with convenience. Ooh, you might be onto something, Carol. I like that. But yes, I think it's not convenient always to eat keto, but it's certainly sustainable. Yeah, at that conference I was just at in Portland, Carol was there as well. I was trying, because I do keto carnivore, I was trying to find a place that would sell me some burgers, just basically the burger patties with some cheese and some bacon. And in the hotel lobby of the hotel I was staying in, I asked for that, and they were like, well, it's $18 for a burger, and you get the french fries. I don't want the fries. I just want the patty. So they went and asked the manager, and it's still $18. Ugh. So $18 for the burger patty, $3 for a slice of cheddar cheese, $3 for bacon. And I'm going, I'm not spending $100 for 4 burgers. I'm not doing that. So I ended up fasting that night, and I was able to do that. Now, the next day I needed to eat, so I did. But that just, yeah, it can be a little inconvenient sometimes. Alberto, 3.5 years keto carnivore, and raw keto carnivore, not going back now. Good for you. Jesse says, haven't been on a live in a while, busy running around. Glad I caught you. Well, welcome back, Jesse. I'm glad you're here. Jesse says, cut out cheese because it was causing me to snack. It did get me back on track, feeling better and moving again. We'll keep it going, girl. New Bill Janet, yes, you are. I just dabbled some and got myself in a mess, getting back on track this week by fasting. Seems like a lot of people got off track somehow recently. Welcome back. I'm always here for you guys, so don't give up on that. AK Bonbon, looks like keto cyclers talking in circles. It is a little bit all over the board. And again, probably a very nice guy. So don't get me wrong. But the comment was very thought-provoking, which is why I want to talk about it here on Jimmy Rants. Carbs are tempting if he keeps his body in carb-burning mode, but restricting carbs at the same time, low-calorie diet, says Alberto. In YouTube, can he see our comments? No, Alberto, the YouTube video does not have any of your comments there. It saves the video without the comments on my camera roll. So what I upload, he does not see the comments, but I'm reading all of y'all's comments, so he'll hear them that way. Paco says, hate to ask a question of subject, best curious if you're still doing carnivore. Yeah, I'm doing keto carnivore, not just carnivore. Carnivore is too high in protein. I'm doing keto carnivore. I now understand why fire ants are always hangry. Stop feeding sugar to ants. There's the typical Alberto comment that makes me laugh. So thank you for that. So guys, the bottom line in this Jimmy Rants, and again, thank you to Keto Cycler over on YouTube for this great thought-provoking, albeit confusing all over the place piece. He makes the claim that keto is not sustainable. And what I want to tell to you, Keto Cycler, is, want to bet? There's a bunch of us here, down here, that I'm commenting with on Jimmy Rants. A lot of people that watch me on YouTube, a lot of people that listen to my podcast and follow my work that would beg to differ. And I think it's kind of silly to make blanket statements like keto is not sustainable, when at the end of the day, I argue it is the most sustainable way you could possibly eat. That's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. As always, we start off over on Instagram. So if you're not following me there, hop on over to Livin' Low Carb Man. That's who I am on on Instagram, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, you can engage live, just like all the beautiful Jimmy Rantsers here today. Thank you guys for being here. If you missed it live, we do have it up on Instagram for 24 hours. Hundreds upon hundreds of you watch the replay every single day. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Jimmy Rants. You can then, if after 24 hours, it does disappear. So you can then find all the past episodes on YouTube. Type in a keyword, Jimmy Rants. You will find the show. Finally, go to Apple Podcast or Stitcher. The Jimmy Rants podcast is there. You can hear the best of the best moments of this here show in podcast form. JimmyRants.com is the website. So until next time, we'll see you then.